Dina Parks. I earned my PhD in cellular and molecular biology from the University of Michigan. While I was at the University of Michigan, I really studied how genes are turned on and off, and the different hormones and the different medications, and even the different things in foods and herbs that can turn them on and off. When I finished my time at the University of Michigan, I didn't stop there. I was super interested again in how things like vitamin D, whether from the sun or whether from foods, could turn on and off gene expression. And so for the last 20 years, I've continued to do a deep dive into how things in our environment, things in our foods, things in herbs can change the way our bodies respond and signal to different cells and what impact that has on our health. Today, what I'd like to talk to you about is intellectual power. This uh, is a very powerful blend of different herbs. And many of these herbs you've heard of, things like basil, rosemary, oregano, turmeric, but many of them you haven't, or at least I haven't. Things like gully root and fitweed. Sometimes I think maybe I'm in a Harry Potter novel, but the thing is, some of these more well-known herbs, we've been kind of thought, we put them in, spaghetti sauce, or we, sprinkle them on our salad, and no big deal. But I think that now we have a lot of scientific evidence showing that these are really powerful activators of our genes. And so that's what I want to talk to you a little bit today about. But before I get into these more commonly known herbs that there actually is a ton of science on showing how they affect our bodies, I do want to say that some of these lesser known herbs, they have traditional wisdom that shows that they really have positive health effects that goes back decades, if not centuries. And so I have no doubt that in the future that many of the healing properties of these herbs will be scientifically validated. But in the meantime, I want to share with you the science that we do know on some of these herbs that you may actually have in your kitchen and not realize how powerful they are. I do want to say that how powerful an herb is also depends on where it's grown, whether it's in a very clean area where it's not going to pick up chemicals or toxins, whether it's overwatered for commercial production, or whether it's allowed to grow naturally, where a lot of those bioactive components can really be concentrated and really be effective. Also, how it's processed. And so we know that probably many companies get stuff in bulk from China, not something that we want to see here. So, I'm very excited about how these herbs were sourced from St. Lucia and just the very care that has been taken in producing them. So I do want to state that that is going to have a real impact on the effectiveness of many of these herbs. So let's talk about what they do in the body. One of the most exciting things that I think we found in recent days is that things like basil, turmeric, oregano, and especially rosemary, very potently activate a system that God designed into your body. You see, God actually designed a system in your body to protect it from things like inflammation, to protect it from things like, you go to the airport and you have to put your hands up and get sort of irradiated with whatever it is they're sending at you, and the toxins in our food. Many of these things are causing a lot of inflammation in the body in the form of something called free radicals. What free radicals are like little tiny electrons, free electrons that hit different tissues and they damage those tissues. They damage your cells. And as they damage them, they cause inflammation because a damaged protein or sugar or whatever, it can't work correctly. So the body has to clean it up. It has to send immune cells to clean it up. All of this ends up causing inflammation. And inflammation is either the root cause or greatly exacerbates any known health condition, pretty much. Okay. So, one of the ways that these herbs work, and now we have a lot of scientific validation of that, is by activating the system that God designed that's already in you through a gene called NRF2. And this gene actually acts to activate the body's natural antioxidant detox system. It activates enzymes that mop up those little free radicals. When you eat something like an orange or you get some vitamin C, it's going to map up maybe one, maybe at most two free radicals. When you activate the body's own natural pathways, it activates and makes enzymes, superoxide dismutase and catalase, that mop up millions of free radicals per second. It's something I can't even conceive of it, but I don't have to, because you know what? God designed it in us. And so we know that he's way smarter than we are. So this God designed system is activated again by basil, by turmeric, by oregano, and especially by rosemary, very, very strong NRF2 activator. And they don't just mop up free radicals, they induce the production of something called glutathione, which is both your body's master antioxidant, but it also binds to medications and toxins and removes them from the body. So it's also the body's major detoxification molecule. In things like some respiratory infections, if your lung cells do not have enough glutathione, they actually start sort of blowing up and breaking apart and dumping inflammatory molecules all over the lungs. And so this is what happened with some people with recent respiratory infections. And if their glutathione levels had been high enough, this likely would not have happened. So having herbs that activate this pathway, that increase the body's master antioxidant detox molecule, glutathione, is super important. And I'm really super excited to see this validating science. Another thing that these herbs that we are commonly know about is that they actually are immune modulators. What does that mean? You don't want the immune system to be turned off or turned on too high. Many things turn it on too high, such as toxins, such as pathogens. Even immunizations can turn them on too high. Other things can turn them down too high. Things like steroids can be great for reducing inflammation, but guess what? They actually suppress your immune system and make you more likely to be susceptible to different pathogens. What we have here in what God has made for us in these natural herbs is that they actually have the ability to balance it. And so what the science shows is that when you are given something that hyperstimulates your immune system, if you have already been taking these herbs, your immune system doesn't react by going hyperinflammatory, which it's not supposed to. It has the proper immune response. And that's what we want to see. And if your immune system is already too hyper-responsive, it can help bring that inflammation, bring that aberrant immune response into balance. And some of these, especially things like oregano, have been shown to bring it back into balance, even in cases like with autoimmune disease. And so obviously this is an area that bears a lot more research, but I'm excited that there is this validating science for these herbs that we know so well. And again, I'm also excited to see what the future brings as we validate the science behind other herbs. I know with herbs like soursop, it has vitamin C, which we know is an antioxidant, but it also has a lot of science validating its use to prevent the development and progression of cancer. And so some of those studies will be linked to on the website, and so you can look those up for yourself. But I also want to stress that beyond what I've already told you, many of these herbs are antimicrobial, which we know oregano is well known for being antimicrobial. They also help with gut health to sort of restore proper gut function. And since this is a brain supplement, there are many of them that have traditionally been known to be involved in things like memory and focus. But also there's some validating science, especially with oregano, that shows that it is really powerful in the brain in terms of making a balanced immune response and also reducing things like anxiety. So I'm excited about that research. And things like rosemary contain something called carnosic acid, which crosses the blood-brain barrier and is a powerful activator of that body's master anti-inflammatory response. So there it's going to reduce inflammation in the brain, and that's going to allow you to be able to focus, to be able to do the things that you want. I also think that in the future, as we validate these herbs, we're going to find that they also are really beneficial for the mitochondria. Some already have some data suggesting that that might be true. And anecdotally, we know that these help with energy production as well through a variety of mechanisms. With that said, I also want to say that things that are high in minerals, some of these seafoods that we have in this like bladderwrack and sea moss are very nutrient rich. They have minerals that are needed for activating this NRF2 pathway for and that would be like manganese and iron, and also for modulating the immune system, like zinc. They also have things like iodine that are really powerful for nourishing your thyroid, as well as magnesium and potassium, which actually really nourishes your adrenal glands. We are seeing just an epidemic of problems with people's adrenal glands, and things like POTS, which is a syndrome where if you try to stand up, you might fall over. And it just seems to be a dysregulation of the body's autonomic response, which is kind of complicated. But at its base, many practitioners are telling me that the adrenal glands play an important role. So nourishing the adrenal glands with vitamin C from soursop, and with magnesium, and with potassium from these sea moss, and from the bladderwrack, can really be helpful in making this something that supports the body on every level. Also, some of those are also high in your B vitamins, which we know are critical in energy production again. So altogether, I think that so many of these components are so powerful alone that I can't wait to see what they do for your health when they're all together and you have invested in your health and you're taking them daily.